I'll tell you what a good showing this Sunday against Buffalo would mean for the Jacksonville offense and offensive coordinator Press Taylor. We'll do that and more here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, good people? Welcome to another edition of Locked On Jaguars. I'm the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, Tony Wiggins, and here on Locked On Jaguars, it is your team every day, and we always thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube page first, like, subscribe, and then hit the bell so you receive notifications each and every time we drop a new episode. And also, check this out, wherever you get your audio podcast, make sure you tap in every single day to make sure that you don't miss an episode. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/locked on NFL and use code in all lowercase Locked On NFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Hello to my everydayers also. We'd like to welcome you back as we do every single day. And if you're not an everyday, you can be. All you got to do is come back every single day. All right, so let me give you the rundown. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what good offense Sunday means for the team moving forward, tied into something we're going to talk about later on in segment 3. Also mention what it could mean for quieting all of this stuff down about Press Taylor, and something I hope we hear Doug say at some point. Then 5 players who can make a big difference. It's going to be the usual suspects. We're going to play the hits. Not putting them on notice, not doing anything like that, but we are going to make sure that everyone understands that we are very, very clear and deliberate about who we think has to step up and show off for the Jaguars to win on Sunday against Buffalo and London. And then just a brief look ahead on all of the things that are coming up for the Jacksonville Jaguars and why being 3-2 is always going to be better than 2-3. We know that, but why in this particular case it's super, super important that they get that done. All right, so let's not bury it. Let's get right to it. Let's just start talking about some football. I hope you guys enjoyed the crossover episode also with Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. I had a good time doing that. What good offense on Sunday means? Well, it means that they'll get into a little bit of a rhythm. They'll get an identity. Hopefully, it'll be the beginning of them getting an offensive identity where they can look the same every single week and they know exactly who they are and what they are. So a lot of that has to do with what they decide to lead with. Lead, L-E-A-D. Last week, they played the hits. It was all ETN. It was Evan Ingram. They did throw a touchdown to Calvin Ridley, but it was a whole bunch of Christian Kirk. So it was more last week of what everyone was really familiar with based on the run that they made last year. And then the big play went to Calvin Ridley, right? This is something that, I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. Get back to being who you are, knowing who you are before you can advance to start being who and what you want to be, right? Right. So that's a big deal. You have to have an identity. And Ridley had never saw that. Ridley was never, Calvin Ridley wasn't here last year. He wasn't a part of the team, even though he had been traded, his rights were traded. He wasn't a part of the team. So if you're sitting out, it's just like being injured. Guys always say when you're injured, you're not really there, right? It's real important for them to backtrack a little bit and say, this is who we are. We're bringing you in. You're going to be a key part, but let's get back to our identity of who we were and who we are, and then we can move forward. It'll also bode well for them because they're going to need that good offense as they get into a certain beefy part of their schedule. It's not right after the London trip, but after those 3 games when they come back from London, and all games in the NFL are hard. We know that by now. They got 6 bangers where they really, really, really have to play well. And it would be nice to know that they're going to put their best foot forward every single week. One of the things that'll help them is Cam Robinson's coming back, and they're going to have their 5 best offensive linemen. Dewan Smoot practiced this week. He probably won't play, but he'll play more next week. In week 6, when they come back to host the Colts at home, you're going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars at their absolute best, at the best that we've seen them for a while. You're going to see them putting their best foot forward, and everyone is going to be healthy, and they'll be the true version of themselves that they want to show. So it'll be good, especially if they can win and then win again next week and be 4-2 heading into that stretch where they have everybody healthy, of course, and if they avoid more injuries. All of this stuff will start tying together where you'll see the team that's going to be the team that makes a run, where they'll know exactly who they are. And one of the things I want to happen, if they really, really play well offensively, and then Doug Peterson comes out and goes, just like it was leaked out, maybe by an agent type or someone like that, and confirmed by Doug to, I believe it was Ian Rappaport. If it wasn't, I'm sorry, Ian, but it was later confirmed that Press Taylor was going to be calling plays. The only way that stuff comes out is, well, when Press Taylor is eligible for a job next year. Because remember, someone asked to speak to him after last year, and it was declined. No, you won't speak to him. You're going to offer him a head coaching job. You're not going to offer him to come make a lateral move and be your play caller. He's our offensive coordinator. So maybe it puts to bed and it puts to rest some of the talk that you usually hear with other coaches, although most of the time you hear this with minority candidates, that they didn't call plays or whatever. So it was like almost, I believe, a preemptive way to put that to bed, but it became a little bit of a distraction, especially since this team isn't playing well. I actually think that now I've had somebody inside of the facility tell me that I'm wrong about this, so I'm not going to sit here and beat up fans and act like I know something you don't. No, I'm going to be honest with you. Just somebody inside the building that told me, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than it was last year because, and it is not necessarily because Press is doing anything wrong. It's just that having that extra little understanding that Doug is the one with his finger on everything. Sometimes, we get information and we can't handle that information. And we don't realize something. Then Doug has said it himself. And the thing that kills me about this, and I know I keep breaking up my sentence, but the thing is Doug says, we believe in Doug, right? Until he says something like, this is the way we've always done it. We've been 50-50 this whole time. And then when he said Press Taylor called a lot of those plays when we were coming from behind in those games late last year. And then everybody goes, yeah, I don't believe that. He's just trying to save face or he's just trying to protect this guy. I find it real funny how we selectively believe the things that we want to believe, but then we don't believe that same person when they say something that goes against some of our narratives and some of the things that we have put in our mind that are real or fake. So, we're going to believe him or we're not going to. I choose to believe everything he says until he proves to me he's a liar. I do that with everybody, and I'm going to do that with Doug. So I believe that it's probably the play calling is probably a little more similar to what they had last year. They're just not executing. And I think the tape for them, because they keep saying it, I think the tape says that. And the players are saying it. They have to play better. They have to do things that are better. You got to go out and do it. You saw a game with Washington and the Bears. What was the change when Washington came out and all of a sudden started scoring points after the first half? I think guys just have to go out and do it. What's our favorite phrase? Demonstrated performance. Doesn't matter who you think you are on paper, who you want to be. Doesn't matter what you go out and do, because the ultimate form of resistance is in the NFL, where guys aren't going to let you just get away with being what you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into 5 players who can make a difference. And I'm going to tell you right now, Trevor Lawrence is number 1, and that should not come as a surprise to anyone and probably nobody else on the list. But I'll tell you right now, we're going to lead segment 2 with Trevor Lawrence being the guy. We'll also talk about the impact a little bit of Cam Robinson coming back on the offensive line. And then, of course, in segment 3, we'll take a real good look ahead from a wide-ranging standpoint of why I believe it's so important for them to use this game to get an identity. They get it against a real good team. So we'll talk about all of that. But first, Trevor Lawrence will be the main guy we'll focus on that has to play better. And I have a reason that I'll tell you why I think he's going to do that. We'll talk about all of that stuff here in just a second on Locked On Jaguars. I got to tell you about today's sponsor, though, and that is Bird Dogs. I got on some Bird Dog shorts right now, man. And if it weren't for this bad hip that I have, I'd stand up and show you, as my wife say, ooh, you look fine in those shorts. I tell her I look fine with them and I look fine without them. But she's right, because they have a more sculpted fit. They stretch. They have great material. They don't have all of those hard lines in them. Everything is smooth and they fit really, really well. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Because yeah, we need movement, right? Bird Dog uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, and we need to be cool and dry. All right, so here's what you got to do. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonnfl or enter the promo code lockedonnfl at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's a great water bottle too. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnfl for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Okay, man, let's get into it. Trevor Lawrence, why is he one of the 5 most important people? Because he's going to be, if I'd ever do a list of the 5 most important people going into a game over the next 12 years, Trevor Lawrence is going to be number 1. All right. But he's number 1 in this one for a different reason. And the reason is because he's the key to this thing getting, this the football Rubik's Cube getting fixed and we having all of the colors lined up. And the reason why is because he's the guy that everybody depends on. He's the guy who has his hands on the ball. He's an extension of the coach, and he has remarkable talent. Talent that'll be on display on Sunday at 9:30 in the morning against Josh Allen, another guy who has tremendous talent. He was an MVP candidate. So you have Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, of course, Patrick Mahomes. There's this handful of quarterbacks that everyone considers the best in the league. Well, Trevor has a track record of playing well against those guys. Now, he hasn't beaten Mahomes in 3 tries. He's beaten Justin Herbert in 2. I don't know if he beat Tua. I can't quite recall that real quick. I don't remember. But I know he also played Joe Burrow very, very tough in the game that he played against him. So whenever Trevor Lawrence has been lined up against people that everyone says is the best, he's actually been at his best. And it's been something to behold, the fact that a guy can play that well at the biggest stage, on the biggest stage, or at the biggest time when he needs to play. No bigger one than tomorrow than when they play in London, because everybody will be watching. 6:30 on the West Coast, 9:30 on the East Coast. By the way, I'll do this. I want y'all to send me pictures of what y'all eating, because everybody always has their cuisine ready for midday games or 4:00 games. I want to see which one of y'all are smashing hot dogs and burgers and drinking beer at 9:30 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning if you're on the West Coast, because you are going to be my savage of the week if you do that. Or if you're going to get your Food Network on and try to make you a little brunch, right? We'll see what happens. But back to the real food, and that food will be the football game that is played on Sunday. Trevor just has to get it done. If he gets it done, everybody else is going to follow him, right? So we're going Trevor Lawrence, number 1. I want his buddy. I got this phrase from in high school when we played basketball. This is back when high school had 2 big guys, and the coach would always tell the center and the power forward, first thing you do is when you get the ball, turn and look for your buddy. One guy goes to the high post, look down to the low post. So in football, I believe the buddy of a quarterback was a tight end, because normally he gets into his route really quick. He's waiting out in the flat, or he's right by the linebackers, and he's a quick dump off. Your hot read sometimes is your tight end, right? He's also a dude that'll help protect, block, chip, and after he does his block, when nobody thinks that he's in a route, he'll go out, run, turn around, and give you an outlet for the ball, especially if there's a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Look right to Evan Ingram. Go to Evan Ingram early. 5-6 targets in the first quarter. Set the Bills up. Set Matt Milano, the great linebacker, and all of those guys up. Let them be on notice that you're going to throw the ball quickly, but you're going to throw it vertically as opposed to horizontally on quick screens. And then I think he's a run after catch nightmare. Yeah, Evan Ingram. That's the way I go. I just say this is what we're going to do. I told you we're going to play the hits. Defensively, I think they have to make a stand. It starts with the quarterback of the defense. And I'm not talking about Foye Oluokun, even though that's probably his designation from a lot of people. I'm talking about Andre Cisco. Andre Cisco has to continue to play at the high level that we all anticipated. I know here on Locked On Jaguars, we anticipated that he'd be playing. Let me qualify something real quick. I put out a tweet when national media had started noticing Andre Cisco this week, and I quoted it and I said, "Who told y'all that? Wasn't peacocking, wasn't doing any of that stuff." What I do is when I go to training camp and I tell you this dude looks like he's ready to take that next step. A part of being a Jaguar, a person that covers the Jaguars is this. So maybe this will clear it up for a lot of people that thought I was flexing. And even if I was, I can do what I want to do. But it's not what I was doing. What I was trying to say is I'm not telling y'all that I told y'all that Andre Cisco was going to be great. I'm telling y'all that I told y'all that national media was going to finally not only notice it, but that at some point the national media was going to have to fairly acknowledge it. And that is what they're doing. So my boy Cap showed me that when they picked Andre Cisco, he thought he was going to be a great, and he did. I remember that. And I appreciate him sending me the tweet. But we also think Fred Taylor's a Hall of Famer. He ain't in there. We also think Jimmy Smith is a Hall of Famer. He ain't in there. We know that Jimmy Smith has more 1,000-yard receiving years than Larry Fitzgerald and Andre Johnson. I don't think national media knows, and even if they do, they're not going to acknowledge it, right? We know that Fred Taylor averaged 4.8 yards a carry or 4.6 yards a carry in 8 different seasons. Yeah. But us knowing that doesn't mean a hill of beans if national media doesn't acknowledge it. So we're talking about what gets acknowledged. We also know that there haven't been any tarps in our stadium for years. National media likes to bring up the fact that they think we're going to move because all of the seats are tarped off. It's not true. It's a lie. So what things are and what folks acknowledge them to be are often two different things. And what I said was Andre Cisco was going to be so good that they weren't going to be able to hold back notice anymore. So that being said, I hope that clears up that I wasn't peacocking and I wasn't flexing on you. But like I said, I can do what I want to do. If I want to peacock and flex, I can. That's just it. But I just not what I was doing. 2 other people. You said we're going to mention 5. We're going to go with Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. Keep doing your thing, stepping up in big games. Keep having a great season, set the template, and then Trayvon Walker, I want you to go right along with him. And at some point, these guys will start being noticed as being a whole bunch better. I saw an interesting chart today, and I had some people clarify what the chart meant to me about who gets double teamed, who doesn't get double teamed. And Trayvon Walker doesn't get double teamed, but his win rate is right, not that far behind other guys like Aiden Hutchinson that everybody thinks is way, way better than him. I had to get clarification because on the chart, they're in the same area. They're right near each other. Him, Josh Allen, all of them, they're right there together. And I'm like, what is this chart telling me that everybody else is telling me something differently? And these are the things that coaches know. These are the things that the people that watch film, these are the things that folks that watch tape, they don't listen to innuendo and they don't look at things the way that we do. They look at things the way that they truly are based on what the tape is. So I want them to make this stuff obvious so that there's no room for anybody to misinterpret anything, and there's no room for all of this stuff to be out there the way it is. So Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Andre Cisco, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence, those are my 5 guys that I think if they go out and do it the way that we know that they're capable of doing it, then it's going to get done. And the Jaguars are going to have a real, real good chance of winning this game. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this. We're going to talk about what this means from a look ahead perspective. And when I say look ahead, I mean not just the difference between being 2-3 and 3-2. I'm going to talk about what it means for the rest of the year because the Jaguars have a 6-game stretch coming up in about 3 weeks that is brutal. And they need to know exactly who they are and what they look like before they get into those muddy waters. We'll talk about all of that stuff in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I have to first let you know, though, about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, and yes, they are out there, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, Last night, man, Terry McLaurin, I fell 12 yards short. I'd have won 500 on a $50 bet. 12 yards short. That's the kind of stuff, man, that drives you crazy. But don't worry about that because 2 weeks ago, I hit on 3 straight periods and won $1,800 because I was dead right. And you can be right and have fun and enjoy the game too. All you got to do is go to PrizePicks. Remember, quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes PrizePicks the number one daily fantasy sports app. Someone asked me today, what platform is that I really love? He said he loved the interfaces and all of that. And I don't know what interfaces are, but here you go. Go to PrizePicks, and I shot in the information I'm about to shoot to you. And that is if you go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. I'll repeat that for you. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, all one word, for a first deposit match up to $100. Telling you, hit prizepicks.com and you'll absolutely love it. All right, man. Third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. What we do is we make it your team every day and bring you a daily podcast. You got another daily podcast. It's Locked On NFL. I'm on there on Fridays, right? I'm on there on Fridays with David Harrison, my partner in crime, who covers the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Washington football team, the Washington Commanders. Well, we get together and we give you Locked On NFL. But every day of the week, you can get somebody that can give it to you, man. Great coverage from around the NFL, all the leading stories, big matchups, and everything else around the league. Make sure you tune in to Locked On NFL. Make it your next watch. It's free on YouTube, free to subscribe to. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications as well. And listen wherever you get your other podcasts because it'll be there too because it's your team every day. All right. Look ahead. Look ahead at this schedule. The Jacksonville Jaguars come back home. Hopefully they'll be 3-2. And you'll see why in a minute, why that's so big of a deal. If they play well and end up 2-3, it's okay. All right. But you want them to be 3-2. Because then they come home and they host the Colts and they're on a little bit of a roll. That'll be 2 wins in a row, and they can make it 3 in a row against the Colts with a rookie quarterback, and they'll be 4-2. And then they go on a Thursday night where they're gonna probably take 7 or 8,000 Jaguar fans with them to New Orleans. Shout out to Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints. And we think they can probably be 5-2. Then they go to Pittsburgh. They don't come back home. They go to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers. And the Jaguars can be 6-2. And they'll need that 6-2 record, man. Because here's the deal. These are the next 6 games. They play the 49ers here in Jacksonville. Then they play the Titans here in Jacksonville. Then they play the Texans in Houston. Then they got the Bengals here for a night game in Jacksonville. Then they got the Browns in Cleveland. And then they host the Ravens in Jacksonville. So that's the gauntlet. All games are important, even the 3 before those games. I'm not writing off the Saints. I'm not writing off the Steelers or the Colts. But I'm telling you, you want to get a little bit of wiggle room behind you, man. You want to get some weight up underneath you because you are absolutely going to need it. And that's 6. Those are some physical football games. Those are measuring stick games. By the time you get to the Titans and the Texans, those are games that are going to decide 9 times out of 10. They will decide whether or not you're going to win the division or what position you'll be in to win the division. But more importantly, you'll know you already played the Bills. You've already played the Texans once, and I love the fact that I'm including Houston in this conversation, by the way. You've already played the Texans once, and you will now be playing you're playing the Bills, you played the Texans, and you've played the Chiefs. Now you get the 49ers, you get the Ravens. It just looks like to me what I'm saying is you'll have 4 of the possible top 6 teams, if you don't include yourself. You'll have them on your resume before week 15. I think it's a good measuring stick, and if your record is good enough, then you'll really start seeing the Jaguars believe that they absolutely have a good chance. That's why I'm glad they're getting Cam Robinson back this week. I'm glad that it's going to help them be able to put their best foot forward because they're going to get DeJuan Smoot back next week. That's why I'm glad, man. I'm so happy that they're getting healthy, that they don't have any excuses, because they need to know who they are. We need to know who they are. Even if it's not good, we need to find out right now who this team is before we press forward with our hopes and dreams of the rest of the year and start really placing our fandom and placing our optimism in the right place. They're going to get tested. No better time than to get that going than tomorrow. They could literally go on a 5-game winning streak before they play the 49ers. Like I said, I'm not writing anybody off, but I'm just being real. That's just how we think it. So it's big for the immediate look ahead, and then it's big from a bigger picture look ahead. Well, you're just going to see if you got it or not. And if you don't have it, you'll know how much you need to tweak it and the things that you need to do in order to get yourself ready to be ready to make the kind of run that we think that this team can end up making as we move forward and press forward. All right, quick recap what good offense on Sunday means. 5 players who can make a difference in the game, and then a look ahead to what those 5 players and that good offense, what good fortunes it could bring you if you want to look ahead to the immediate future, which is the rest of this season, and then even look beyond that a little bit, because we all take a little meander. We all take a little look and a little peek into what the fortunes of this team could be. All right, man, it's Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to have a postcast. Since they're on the road, the postcast will be immediately after the game, within 15 to 20 minutes of the game, live on the YouTube page, the Locked On Jaguars YouTube page. We'll tell you exactly what it is, what happened, and then we'll come back here and give you everything we can give you on Monday to try to either help you get over what you saw or help you understand exactly what it was that you saw and how much it means towards the future of this team this season. Until then, man, I want y'all to do me a favor. I always say it. Take care of each other, and I'll take care of myself too. And we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.